Our next speaker, Beri Meric, and I go way back. We were both starting our companies at the exact same time, similar theme. So it's really fun to welcome him here today. But don't let Beri fool you, okay? If I were to name this talk, I would call it A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, okay? Because the company Beri has started, I think, could be hugely disruptive to the world of advancement. Beri is out there really trying to do what a lot of these speakers have suggested, which is focus on what your constituents really want. A lot of what Mike Troiano said at the beginning, knock with your feet. And he's packaged that up into a company that is doing extremely well, that in my mind is competing directly with all of you. And so we're going to do a little bit of an intro around Ivy, which is Beri's company, and then we're going to bring him up on stage to learn a little bit more. Here we go.
Ivy is the social university, and what that means is Ivy is the lifelong equivalent of what a great American university provides. Learning for your whole life, meeting new people every week for the rest of your life, really engaging with ideas outside of your field throughout your life. My co-founder and I were classmates in business school, and we saw this incredible difference between what it's like being in a collegiate environment where every week you're meeting dozens of people and making tons of friends, but also professional relationships and learning a lot and dreaming about what you want to do with your life. Why does it make sense that that's only for a limited space in your life? Why do you have to go to a grad school to get that? And why should it end when you're 21 or 25 or 30? How do you take that experience of a campus and extend it across entire cities, the top 50 cities in the world, and extend it also throughout life?
I just think it's so amazing that you all are here. I mean, that this thing exists. The fact that you all come together to like talk about ideas and compare notes and have these different experiences, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
To the stage.
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. So I've never been introduced like that as a wolf or a competitor. I hope you'll see me as hopefully a collaborator and someone that you can exchange ideas with to achieve your goals. I actually want to thank everybody in this room because my experience with the universities that I got to attend has been incredibly life-changing and continues to be probably the best investment I've ever made, and it wouldn't be possible without all the incredible efforts of everyone here. So about me and how Ivy got started, to give you context of where we are and where we're going and how we could potentially work together. I'm originally from Turkey. I was born in Istanbul, thank you. And at age 11, I moved to Scotland, to Glasgow. And for any of you who've been to either of those places, they have absolutely nothing in common. So when I moved, first of all, you know, in Scotland, it rains every day, I think, except for 2 weeks of the year. It's a different language. I didn't speak the language, English with a Scottish accent. And in the school that I got enrolled into, I was the only foreigner. So it was 100% all Scots. And I got there without even being able to speak to anybody. And this was a very formative experience for me because I had to really adapt, and it was difficult. But it made me think a lot about community, what brings people together, what unites people even if they didn't have much in common in the first place. So 7 years on, I really adapted, and I actually got the huge privilege to come to the US for my undergraduate at Brown University. And the transition to Brown University was a lot easier. Friendliest people ever, incredibly fun, super intellectually stimulating, and I immediately fell in love with the American collegiate experience. I then worked in London for a few years doing investment banking, and then went to business school at Harvard with Brent. And I was back to college now, but this time as an adult, that I could really appreciate it fully. Again, the most fun I've ever had, most number of lifelong friendships, incredible professional opportunities, including meeting my co-founder and launching Ivy as a result. And the idea behind Ivy, while we were in business school, was very simple. American universities do a tremendously good job of creating a sense of community and getting people in a multidimensional environment that's very social, but also incredibly intellectually stimulating, professionally rewarding. Every aspect of being human and being a driven person who wants to really get the most out of life and make a big impact, these universities provided. In contrast, once you're out of your educational, that community, the campus that you live on, the world is pretty much the opposite. These big cities, they have amazing people and great things going on, but there's no cohesion, there's no community. You work your ass off, right? You have barely any time to meet with people. This is for recent graduates especially. And there's nothing that brings things together. So the idea for Ivy was very simple. Let's create a lifelong and global equivalent of what we got in college and business school. So that's how Ivy was born 5 years ago in New York. And today we're in 7 cities across the country. So our mission is to be the future of lifelong learning and community. And one moment, here we go. Our belief is that everyone has limitless potential, and we believe that this potential can best be unlocked through lifelong learning and a community. So what Ivy does is to help each of its members unlock their potential. So we double your connections, double your learning, and double the amount of fun you have in your life in order to help you double your success, double your impact, and double your overall happiness. So our members' average age is 31, so the average member is 10 years out of school, and the age range is 25 to 40. We're looking to expand that both ways, from recent graduates to people who've graduated many years ago. We have a lot of people from top schools and top employers, and we also reach out to all kinds of innovators that might not have had a formal higher education as well. What Ivy enables you to do on an ongoing basis is meet and learn from leading minds who are best-in-class entrepreneurs, different academics, professors, different people in arts and culture and social impact. We do a ton in arts and culture, actually. We find that young people, all arts and culture institutions are having an incredibly difficult time getting young people to engage. And Ivy is engaging young people in their thousands every single month across the country, doing opera labs and theater and art gallery receptions, going behind the scenes with curators at museums and so forth. We do a lot in social impact, volunteering activities, impact labs, not just volunteering, but actually then joining the boards of these organizations. These are all the kinds of things that our members do. We do a ton of international travel. Last year we did 18 trips around the world: Cuba, Aspen, Antarctica. We're going to Galapagos next month, Kenya. So these are extremely vibrant, super fun parties, very similar to the, did I say parties? I have a lot of parties, these trips. They're extremely fun trips, very similar to what we actually had at business school, where I found most of the close friendships were actually formed during those trips. So when you travel with somebody, it goes a long way. So it's an incredible way for bonding. And what we found is alumni travel is generally for a much older demographic, but young people are incredibly hungry for it. It's just, they're not being invited. So we're inviting them, and they're having a great time. We do a lot of parties, and we do a lot in wellness. So a lot of fitness, nutrition, longevity-related topics and activities as well. Our experience formats, so we do everything from salon discussions and speaker events to also these labs that I talk about, like behind the scenes, getting to know different institutions at a deeper level. I think the most important thing about this is that we have 20 different formats. So it's the diversity of what we do, both the members themselves, but also the experiences that they have. So it's not repetitive, just happy hours here and there. It's really intellectually challenging people, getting them to get out of their comfort zone and do great things. That's what I believe has been the secret sauce of Ivy. We have now started to group these vast number of different experiences. We hosted 1,000 events last year. Now we started to put them into these club groupings. So, for the thought leadership related events, it's the Ivy Luminaries Club. For art related activities, Ivy Arts Club, and so forth. We have 7 chapters across the US. So we started in New York. We're in DC and Boston, Miami, LA, San Francisco, and Chicago. And our mission is to be in 50 cities around the world. We're getting ready to launch in London, Hong Kong, and Dubai very shortly. We have a very robust app that enables our members to connect with each other, post opportunities, consume all the thought leadership content that we produce at our different events. And the best thing about our app is the world does not need another social network, that is for sure. But the good thing about Ivy's app is that every single person that you come across there is someone that you're extremely likely to meet in the next month or two. So the degree of interaction, the quality of interaction is actually extremely high as a result. And then, yes, the digital learning also takes place online. This is something that we're starting to do a lot more of, taking all the content from our experiences and then piping it through ivy.com so that members across the country can engage all the take advantage of the thought leadership, regardless of where they live. Got a bunch of press. We've got a lot of great brand partners that we also work with that helps us elevate our experiences. Because we bring such a great audience, we get a lot of venues for free or very inexpensively because they want to be in front of this crowd. Similarly, a lot of brands also want to engage with a young and engaged audience. Some photos from the types of different experiences that we have, so you kind of get an idea of the vibrancy of the crowd and the diversity of everything that we do. All right. So this is the formal part of my presentation. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A. Anything
I'm excited about Ivy. Okay, so like when I look at this is not the kind of thing you can go do on Monday, unfortunately. But as I've watched Beri build this business, really what he's done is stay focused on your constituents, stay focused on the people that are 25 to 45, who are underneath that major gift radar, who aren't getting all of the VIP experiences that many of you offer. And they've found an opportunity to go and serve that audience. And I feel like, as being a little bit controversial up front, I don't really think Beri is coming after all of you, but they are going after your people and trying to get the attention. And by the way, this isn't free. You've got a diversity of price ranges, if you will, but essentially this is a modern alumni association. And what are you charging people to be Ivy members, and how does that scale?
Currently, it's $1,000 a year to join Ivy, and with that, you get access to the member exchange platform and the experiences. Many of our events also have tickets. So it's that $1,000 baseline contribution, and then on top of that, depending on what you engage.
So if you go back on Monday and you say, great idea, I went to this conference, we should increase our Alumni Association dues to have a starting price of $1,000. How would that go over? Why? Because, right, we've got this built-in assumption that it's got to be so accessible, or it's got to be low cost, it's got to be free, and unfortunately, low cost, low revenue, oftentimes can hurt the quality of the experiences relative to what a $1,000 membership and tickets that you pay for on top of can deliver. And so I think that's part of what I was excited about. And it's funny because didn't Mike Troiano at the beginning mention that he gets invited to trips to go to Norway when he's 70 or something like that? Whereas, Beri's proving that people want to do those sorts of experiences now. And so my question is, have you ever thought about a scenario where you could essentially say to this audience, hey, we've done all the hard work. We've got brand partners. We've got locations in all these cities, that you all might not have locations in. We'd love to partner. We would love to help be a platform to help deliver an amazing experience that might feel a little bit overwhelming to this audience. So I'm putting Beri on the spot to a certain extent, but are you competing with higher ed, or is there really an opportunity to collaborate?
I believe there's a tremendous opportunity to collaborate. We've built an expertise in reaching out to this demographic, getting them super engaged, and creating experiences that they're really looking to do. So to be able to power the vision that you each have on what kind of experiences you want to provide would be a huge privilege for Ivy. And I believe we can be extremely helpful to do that.
Interesting. I do want to open it up. Like any Q&A initially, I've got a few more, but anybody have anything top of mind for Beri? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could talk about the implications of the inevitable income barrier that you're kind of
Right.
run into, how that affects what Ivy's goals are.
So the impact, or the inevitable impact of the income barrier, they're certainly targeting an more affluent demographic. I would call it a middle of the pyramid demographic, right? Who are the people in the middle of the giving pyramid that could potentially write you a check for $1,000 a year, or they could write Beri a check for $1,000 a year, right?
Well, so from my perspective, a ton of our inspiration, I mean, the whole thing is based on universities and how they do things. So similar to universities, we provide scholarships. If someone is unable to afford it, but they have the right values, they want to contribute to the community, we have a pretty straightforward scholarship process, and we're pretty neat blind about it. So if we interview someone, we decide whether or not we're approving them, and if finances is the barrier. But if you think about it, $1,000 a year, you're talking about $85 a month. This is something that in all the cities that we're in, it's extremely accessible for the amount of learning, networking, and lifelong friendships that you get. So we're also a growing company, so I'd love to lower it and have a lot more people, but you have to actually do it in a way that's sustainable. And I've found people would rather pay a bit more and get a great return for the time that they're putting in, rather than, oh, here's a free event, but then, there isn't any food or, things like that. So we found to keep elevating has been working well for us.
Anybody else have a question? Yes.
Oh, we have one right here.
We have a mic. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi. I'm wondering, do you use volunteers at all, or is it all driven by staff?
So we have a full-time staff in each city. We have about 5 people. So the event programming and execution, and then the community growth and community management. That's the full-time staff. And then we use a lot of part-time staff for the experiences. We do also have, Ivy ambassadors and members who volunteer to do things. But actually, compared to other organizations, we are very hands-on and it's our colleagues are doing pretty much everything. But we are letting members do more and more things as well, increasingly. Just to repeat
So the question was, is there precedent for partnering with alumni associations? I think the answer is no, but have you partnered with other brands where you might be able to draw some parallels?
Yeah, we actually, so Brendan and I both went to Brown and HBS, so we have that in common as well. I've actually discussed it with them, but we've been in this growth mode and haven't been able to really put the time in. However, now we're at a place, especially when Brent invited me to come here, this is something we want to really kick off starting in the fall. So there is no direct precedent, but I believe the lowest hanging fruit is understanding for given cities what the vision is for engagement, and I think Ivy can then come back with a very straightforward and I think incredibly budget-friendly way to engage your alums on your behalf. And yeah, it's something we can explore together.
What percent of your network is kind of married with kids? And I'm curious how you keep those people when they move from kind of high income, low cost, to paying for education and their time.
Cool. Just to repeat the question in case you didn't hear at the back, how many people are single versus married, and how do we keep people across their life cycle? So right now, it's about 65% single to 35, not already married. With kids, it's probably 15%. So we started also, this was very organic. So when we first started this, I was straight out of business school, mid to late 20s. So we just went for that audience. We went for what we knew. It was not based on market research. We just knew the need was there. But now that I'm 33 and more of our members are getting married, having kids and so forth, so we're definitely looking to evolve so that we truly make this a lifelong experience. I recently joined another organization called YPO, Young Presidents Organization, and there it's almost 95% married with kids, and they've done a tremendous job of providing this personal, professional learning experience where also your spouse and your kids are involved. So we're aspiring to do something very similar as we evolve. Other questions?
I'm curious if anybody, based on what you've seen or maybe based on what you've heard from your own constituents, like where do you feel like the missing gap is? Like what are the experiences that you just feel like you should be providing more of but maybe aren't? Because there's a lot here, you can't do everything. Anything jump out?
I think it's a win-win that you can be cross-institution and get more into Davidson or Williams Brown and be a part of a dynamic community on the impact level.
Yeah.
I think people want to make big impact, and they know that they can do that through their college, but they could also do it on a much larger scale.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stands out is a great question around how volunteer-driven is it, but ultimately many of you that are trying to build regional or even global chapters or networks, you're trying to herd cats. You know, you're trying to get volunteers to follow up and be responsive and do their work, but they've got full-time jobs, whereas Beri's found that you can pay people a full salary and give them real goals and push them hard. And I think that probably, you know, could be another concept that could be relevant for this group. I know it's not that common to have employees who don't work at your home base wherever your campus is, whereas you guys have sort of from the get-go had to have a distributed workforce. That's pretty rare in this world.
And to build on that, and going back to the question that came up, so if I were to envision so the biggest lesson we've learned building Ivy, and still the biggest challenge we have, is it's consistency. So when you're trying to do a ton of different things with a ton of different people, it's hard to get it right over and over. We've become pretty good at a lot of what we do. There's still lots of things we're learning. But as an alumni organization also, it's just like the alumni organizations I'm a part of, it's that inconsistency. It's like, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's okay, not sure when it happens, not sure what I have to look forward to, not sure who's gonna be there. So one way in which Ivy could really be a win-win partner for everybody here is, you know, imagine you decided, okay, in these markets, we want to have once a quarter a great speaker come in with a killer cocktail party afterwards, just for our alums. Ivy could power that. We'd organize it. It would be very inexpensive relative to if, you know, you were doing it directly. And the reasons why we'd want to do that, one, it bolsters, you know, powered by Ivy. Hopefully those people who want all kinds of other things that your alumni organization is not going to do can get that from Ivy. But also it's a great way for you to like massively scale the amount of things you can offer. All these trips, we can easily do all of them just for your school with our eyes closed. It's very
Beri, I want to go on those trips. They look amazing. Yeah. And so with all of that, we will conclude. Beri's going to stick around the rest of the afternoon if you want to brainstorm any of this. Hopefully this is good food for thought in the medium to long term. Thank you, Beri.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was great. Really appreciate it. Thank you.